I've gone over this night in my head more times than I can count. Every sound. Every stop. Every reflection in the window. And the worst part is, nothing about it felt unreal while it was happening. I was on a night bus I'd taken dozens of times before. Same route. Same schedule. Same empty highway. But there was one detail I can't explain. According to the driver. According to the ticket scanner. According to the CCTV footage they later showed me. I was the last passenger on that bus. So I still don't understand. Who was sitting behind me? For the last 40 minutes of that ride. I never believed in ghosts. Not in the dramatic sense, at least. I didn't grow up hearing stories about haunted roads or cursed places. I believed in exhaustion. In stress. In the way your brain fills in gaps when you're tired enough. That's what I told myself at the time. It was late. A little after 11:30 p.m. The kind of hour where the city feels hollow, like it's already gone to sleep without you. I'd missed the earlier bus home. My phone battery was at 12%. And it was raining in that quiet, steady way that makes everything sound farther away than it really is. The bus stop was empty. No music. No traffic. Just the hum of a streetlight and the soft hiss of rain hitting concrete. When the bus finally arrived, it didn't slow down the way it usually did. It almost overshot the stop, like the driver hadn't been expecting anyone to be there. The doors opened with a tired hydraulic sigh. I stepped inside. The warmth hit me first. Then the smell, old fabric seats, faint disinfectant, something metallic underneath it all. The driver didn't look at me. He just nodded once and tapped something on his console. My ticket beeped green. I moved down the aisle, scanning the seats out of habit. Completely empty. That wasn't unusual. This route ran through long stretches of highway and half-lit suburbs. At this hour, most people preferred to drive. I sat on the right side, about 3 rows behind the driver. Close enough to feel safe, far enough not to feel watched. The doors closed. The bus pulled away from the curb. As we merged onto the road, I caught my reflection in the window. Dark circles under my eyes. Jaw clenched. Rain blurring the city lights into streaks of white and orange. I rested my head back and let my eyes close. Just for a moment. The bus ride home usually took about 50 minutes. I'd done it enough times to know every stop by heart. Every turn. Every long, empty stretch where the streetlights vanished and the road dissolved into darkness. That night felt no different. At first. The first 10 minutes passed quietly. The bus stopped twice. No one got on. No one got off. The doors opened. The rain rushed in. Then silence again. Somewhere after the third stop, I noticed something strange. The interior lights dimmed. Not all at once. Just slightly. Enough that the corners of the bus felt deeper. Heavier. I assumed it was a power fluctuation. Or maybe the driver adjusting the brightness. Still, I sat up a little straighter. That's when I heard it. A sound behind me. Not footsteps. Not movement. A seat creaking. Slowly. The kind of sound vinyl makes when weight settles into it. I froze. My first thought was simple. Someone got on at the last stop. I replayed the memory in my head. The doors opening. The rush of rain. The sound of the engine. I couldn't remember seeing anyone walk past me. That bothered me more than it should have. I didn't turn around right away. Instead, I watched the reflection in the window. The glass was dark enough to act like a mirror. For a few seconds, I saw nothing but my own face. Then, a shape appeared behind me. Blurred. Tall. Seated. At the very back of the bus. I felt a tightness settle in my chest. I told myself it was just the lighting. A trick of reflection. My brain filling in shadows. Still, I turned my head. Someone was sitting there. They were alone, taking up an entire row near the back. I couldn't see their face. The overhead light above them was flickering, casting their features in broken pieces of shadow. Their posture was wrong somehow. Too still. They weren't looking at their phone. Weren't leaning against the window. Weren't slouched the way tired passengers usually are. They were sitting upright. Hands resting on their knees. Facing forward. I looked away quickly, embarrassed by the sudden spike of fear. Get a grip, I thought. It's just another passenger. But something about it felt off. People usually choose seats closer to the front at night. Or at least somewhere near another person. The back of the bus was isolated. I checked my phone. 11:52 p.m. Signal weak. Battery at 10%. I slipped it back into my pocket. The bus continued down the highway. Streetlights passed rhythmically. On. Off. On. Off. Each time the light vanished, the windows turned black. And each time they returned, I could feel it. The presence behind me. Not moving. Not shifting. Just there. I tried not to think about it. I focused on the road ahead. On the faint reflection of the driver's face in the front mirror. That's when I noticed something else. The driver hadn't checked the rearview mirror once since the last stop. Not even out of habit. His eyes stayed fixed on the road. 10 more minutes passed. Another stop. The bus slowed. Pulled up beneath a flickering sign. The doors opened. Cold air and rain spilled in. No footsteps. No movement behind me. The doors closed. The bus pulled away. I swallowed. This time, I looked. The passenger was still there. Same posture. Same position. Except, closer. Not physically closer. The distance hadn't changed. But the shadows around them felt thicker. More defined. Like the darkness was choosing them. My heart began to beat faster. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they got on earlier. Maybe I just didn't notice. Still, one question kept pressing against my thoughts. Why hadn't I heard them walk past me? The bus rumbled on. The rain intensified, drumming harder against the roof. And somewhere deep in my chest, a quiet certainty began to form. Whatever was sitting behind me had been there longer than I realized. The bus should have turned right after the 3rd-mile marker. I was sure of it. I'd taken this route for almost 2 years. Late nights. Early mornings. Rain. Fog. That right turn was muscle memory. But the bus didn't slow down. It stayed on the highway. The dark stretch where the streetlights thinned out. Where the trees leaned in too close to the road. I leaned forward slightly, trying not to make it obvious. The driver's hands were steady on the wheel. His face unreadable in the dim reflection of the front mirror. Maybe there was a detour. Construction. An accident. That explanation felt thin, but I held on to it anyway. I glanced at the window again. The reflection behind me was clearer now. The passenger's outline had sharpened. I could make out shoulders. A head tilted just slightly downward. Still no face. The flickering light above them buzzed softly, like an insect trapped in glass. I felt something twist in my stomach. Not fear exactly. Recognition. And that scared me more than anything else. Because I had the strangest thought. I've seen them before. The idea made no sense. I didn't ride this bus with the same people every night. Faces blurred together. Strangers stayed strangers. Still, the feeling wouldn't go away. The bus hit a small bump in the road. The seats creaked in response. Behind me, the sound repeated. A slow shift of weight. I didn't turn around this time. Instead, I listened. There was breathing now. Not loud. Not labored. Just, present. Measured. Too controlled to be accidental. I told myself I was imagining it. Rain. Engine noise. My own breath echoing in my ears. But then I noticed something else. The breathing didn't match the movement of the bus. Every inhale and exhale stayed perfectly even. Even when the bus accelerated. Even when it slowed. That's when my thoughts drifted somewhere they shouldn't have. To her. I hadn't thought about her in months. Not properly. I'd learned how to avoid certain memories. How to step around them like cracks in the sidewalk. But something about that presence behind me pulled the memory forward. Her name was Lena. We met on this bus. Almost a year ago. It was stupidly ordinary. 2 tired people. Late night ride. Rain tapping against the windows. She sat a few rows behind me that first night. I remembered because she laughed, quietly, to herself, at something on her phone. Not loud. Not attention-seeking. Just real. I'd glanced back, annoyed at first. Then curious. Our eyes met in the reflection. She smiled. Apologetic. Warm. We didn't talk that night. Or the next. But after a while, we started sitting closer. Sharing glances. Then comments about the weather. The traffic. Eventually, conversations. She always chose the back half of the bus. Said she liked the feeling of watching the road disappear behind her. I like knowing where I've been, she once told me. Not just where I'm going. I don't know why that stuck with me. Our thing never became official. No labels. No promises. Just late-night talks. Soft laughs. A shared silence that felt safe. Until one night, she didn't show up. I waited. One stop passed. Then another. The bus reached the end of the route. She never came. I told myself she'd changed schedules. Found another ride. Life moved on. Or at least, that's what I pretended. The bus jolted slightly as it crossed another seam in the road. I snapped back to the present. The breathing behind me hadn't stopped. And now that memory, Lena's memory, sat uncomfortably close to it. I shook my head, annoyed at myself. You're projecting, I thought. You're tired. Still, my heart wouldn't slow down. Another stop appeared ahead. A lonely one. No shelter. Just a bent sign and wet pavement. The bus slowed. The doors opened. Rain rushed in harder this time. Cold air crawled up the aisle. I listened carefully. No footsteps. No movement. The doors closed. The bus pulled away. My hands had gone numb. Slowly, carefully, I turned my head just enough to look. The passenger was still sitting there. But now, I could see more. The outline of a coat. Dark. Too familiar. The way their hair fell forward, hiding their face. My throat tightened. Because I knew that coat. I'd seen it hanging on the back of a chair. Folded neatly beside her bag. Lena wore it on cold nights. I told myself I was wrong. I had to be. The light above her flickered again. For just a second, the shadows shifted. And in that brief, fractured moment, I saw her hands. Resting on her knees. Fingers pale. Too pale. Still. Unmoving. I looked away immediately, my pulse pounding in my ears. The bus felt smaller now. The air thicker. I leaned forward, closer to the aisle. The driver finally moved. His eyes flicked up to the mirror. Not at me. Not at the back. Just enough to meet my gaze. His expression changed. Not surprise. Not confusion. Recognition. And fear. He looked away instantly. The bus sped up. That's when I understood something was deeply wrong. Because drivers don't get scared of passengers. Unless they already know. They shouldn't be there. The driver didn't speak. He didn't ask me if everything was okay. Didn't announce the next stop. He just drove. Faster than before. The engine's low hum deepened, vibrating through the floor and into my feet. The rain outside blurred into long, colorless streaks. I checked the window again. We weren't passing the usual signs anymore. No mile markers. No exit numbers. Just trees. Tall. Dense. Too close to the road. I leaned farther forward, gripping the edge of my seat. "Excuse me," I said. My voice sounded smaller than I expected. The driver didn't respond. I tried again. Louder this time. "Hey. I think we missed a turn." Nothing. His hand stayed locked on the wheel. Knuckles pale. I watched the mirror. His eyes flicked upward again. This time, they didn't meet mine. They went past me. Straight to the back of the bus. Then, just as quickly, back to the road. My stomach dropped. Slowly, I became aware of something else. The breathing behind me had changed. It wasn't steady anymore. It was closer. Not louder. Closer. Like it was no longer coming from the back seat. Like it was coming from just behind my right shoulder. I didn't move. I didn't dare. The air felt colder now. Not from the open doors. Not from the rain. It felt like the kind of cold that sinks into your bones. The lights flickered again. This time, they didn't fully come back. Half the bus was swallowed in shadow. The front remained dimly lit. The back wasn't. I could no longer see where the seats ended. I swallowed hard. "This isn't funny," I said. I don't know who I was talking to. The driver. The passenger. Or myself. The bus slowed. Not at a stop. Just slowed. The engine strained as if pushing against something heavy. Outside, the road narrowed. The trees leaned inward. Branches scraped against the sides of the bus. That had never happened before. My phone buzzed in my pocket. The sudden vibration made me flinch. I pulled it out. 6% battery. No signal. But there was a notification. A missed call. From a number I didn't recognize. Timestamp, 11:47 p.m. That didn't make sense. It was already past midnight. I opened the call details. The number was incomplete. Digits missing. As if the phone hadn't fully registered it. And beneath it, a voicemail. I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking now. I pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then breathing. Slow. Familiar. And then a voice. Quiet. Soft. I didn't think you'd stay this long. My chest tightened. It was her voice. Not distorted. Not echoing. Exactly as I remembered it. Lena. I whispered. The bus jolted. Hard. I grabbed the seat in front of me as my phone slipped from my hand and clattered onto the floor. The voicemail continued playing. You always leave early, the voice said. You did that night too. My mind raced. That night. The last night I'd seen her. She'd been quiet. Distant. I'd been tired. Distracted. When the bus reached my stop, I stood up without thinking. She looked at me then. Like she wanted to say something. I never asked. The voicemail crackled. I waited, the voice continued. At the back. My heart hammered. The bus slowed again. Almost to a stop. The driver finally spoke. His voice was barely audible. You're not supposed to talk to it. The word it echoed in my head. What? I said. He didn't look at me. You don't answer. You don't acknowledge. And you don't turn around. My mouth felt dry. Turn around to what? The bus stopped completely. Not at a stop. Not on a road. Just, stopped. The engine idled, low and strained. The rain outside had gone silent. No sound at all. I realized then that the breathing was no longer behind me. It was beside me. I felt the seat shift slightly. A presence settling in. The smell hit me next. Cold air. Wet fabric. And something faintly metallic. Like rain-soaked blood. A voice spoke near my ear. Not through a phone. Not through a speaker, directly. You always said you hated sitting alone. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My body refused to move. The driver whispered something under his breath. A prayer, maybe. Or an apology. The voice continued. So I waited. Slowly, against every instinct I had, I turned my eyes. Not my head. Just enough to catch the reflection in the window. She was sitting next to me now. Her face was mostly in shadow. But I could see her smile. And I could see what was wrong with it. It was too still. Too patient. Like she'd been holding it for a very long time. I didn't move. Not because I was brave. Not because I was calm. But because every part of me understood something instinctively. If I turned my head, I wouldn't be able to turn it back. The reflection in the window was enough. Her face hovered beside mine, half-formed in the glass. Some details were right. Her eyes. The curve of her mouth. The way her hair fell across her cheek. Other things were unfinished. Like someone had tried to remember her. But couldn't get it exactly right. The bus felt impossibly still. No vibration. No engine hum. Just silence. You shouldn't be here, I said. My voice barely worked. Her smile widened. I was thinking the same thing about you. The words weren't angry. They weren't sad. They were conversational. That scared me more than anything else. I glanced toward the driver. He was shaking. Both hands locked on the wheel. Lips moving silently. You promised, he whispered. I followed the rules. What rules? I asked. He swallowed. Night routes have passengers that don't get counted, he said. People who miss their stop. My chest tightened. You don't look at them, he continued. You don't talk to them. And you never let them sit beside someone who remembers them. Her reflection tilted its head. You remember me, she said softly. I squeezed my eyes shut. Images rushed back, uninvited. That last night. Rain heavier than usual. The bus nearly empty. Lena sitting farther back than normal. She kept looking at me like she was waiting for something. When my stop came, I stood too quickly. Already thinking about the next day. About sleep. She reached out. Not to grab me. Just enough that I would notice. I didn't. The doors opened. Cold air rushed in. And I stepped off the bus. Behind me, I heard her say my name. Not loudly. Not urgently. Just, once. I never turned around. The memory hit me like a physical blow. I didn't know, I whispered. Her smile didn't change. That's what you told yourself. The bus creaked. Slowly, the windows darkened further. Outside, there was no road anymore. Just blackness. You never asked why I stopped coming, she said. You never looked for me. I thought you moved on. I tried. Her reflection shifted. For a moment, the illusion broke. Her neck bent at an angle no human neck should. Her eyes reflected light wrong, too deep, too hollow. I missed my stop, she said. The driver made a broken sound. I told dispatch, he said. I told them someone stayed on. They said no one did, she replied. Her voice came from everywhere now. They erased me. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. People who stay too long, the driver said. They don't leave the bus the same way. I finally understood. Lena hadn't disappeared. She'd been trapped. Night after night. Loop after loop. Waiting. For you, she said. The seat beside me sank slightly. Pressure. Cold. Not quite touch. You always said, she continued, that the bus felt safer when we rode together. The lights went out completely. The bus lurched forward again. I felt motion. But not movement. Like we were falling sideways. The driver screamed. The mirrors shattered at once, glass raining down like ice. I covered my head. When I looked up, the bus was full. Not with people. With shapes. Sitting. Standing. Holding on to poles that no longer existed. Passengers without faces. Without weight. All turned toward me. She was no longer beside me. She was everywhere. You can stay, her voice whispered. You won't be alone anymore. The bus slowed. A stop appeared ahead. A familiar one. My stop. The doors opened. Warm air rushed in. Normal air. Normal sounds. The world waited outside. The driver looked at me. Tears streamed down his face. If you don't get off now, he said. You never will. I stood. My legs felt wrong. Heavy, slow. I stepped into the aisle. The shapes leaned closer. Hands brushed my arms. Cold. Empty. I reached the doors. Behind me, her voice broke for the first time. You promised you wouldn't leave me alone. I froze. For one terrible second. I almost turned around. But then I remembered something else. She never asked me to stay. She asked me to look back. I stepped off the bus. The doors slammed shut instantly. The bus pulled away. Too fast. Gone. The rain was gone. That was the first thing I noticed. The street outside my stop was dry. Too dry for a night that had been pouring an hour ago. The bus stop light hummed softly above me. Normal. Yellow. Familiar. I stood there for a long time, breathing hard, waiting for something to feel wrong. Nothing did. Cars passed in the distance. A dog barked somewhere down the block. The bus was gone. I walked home. I don't remember unlocking my door. I don't remember sitting down. I only remember staring at my hands. Half expecting them to fade. They didn't. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. 2 days later, I went to the transit office. I told them everything. The missed turn. The driver. The passenger. They were polite. Concerned. They checked the logs. The route had run normally that night. No detours. No delays. They showed me the CCTV footage. The camera feed was grainy. Black and white. The timestamp confirmed it. 11:30 p.m. to 12:21 a.m. I watched myself board the bus. I watched myself sit 3 rows behind the driver. I watched the bus pull away. The footage continued. Stop after stop. The doors opened. Rain came in. No one boarded. No one moved. The camera angle covered the entire aisle. Every seat. The back of the bus was empty. The manager paused the video and looked at me gently. You were alone, he said. I told him about Lena. The name meant nothing to him. I went to the police next. Missing persons. Accidents. Anything. They found a report. A year old. A woman struck by a night bus on the highway. Hit and run. No witnesses. The driver never felt the impact. She'd been standing too close to the road. Rainy night. Poor visibility. Her name was Lena. I stared at the file until the words blurred. What bus? I asked. The officer checked. Same route, same time, same driver. I felt sick. She never made it home, the officer said. I nodded. Because I already knew. That night, I dreamed of the bus. But I wasn't sitting near the front. I was in the back. Watching the road disappear behind me. When I woke up, my phone was on the floor. Battery dead. But the screen was lit. A voicemail notification. No number. No timestamp. I didn't listen to it. I deleted it. Weeks passed. Then months. I avoided night buses. I avoided mirrors. I tried to forget. It almost worked. Until last night. I was driving home late. Rain just starting to fall. I stopped at a red light. A bus pulled up beside me. Interior lights flickering. Almost empty. Almost. At the very front seat. 3 rows behind the driver. Someone was sitting there. Upright. Still. Facing forward. They turned their head slightly. Just enough for me to see my own face. Reflected in the glass. Calm. Patient. Waiting. The light changed. The bus pulled away. And for the first time since that night, I understood the truth. I wasn't the one who left Lena behind. I was the one who missed my stop. And sooner or later, every night passenger does.